did actually read a really interesting statistic that 80% of managed switches that have been installed worldwide are still running on their original software that they installed. You won't pay for the equipment anymore. And I can see in the next 5 to 10 years that you pay for the number of seats on the system. The software development, we actually don't use AI to develop our software. We use people. All the code is written by engineers.
The Operator Podcast by Circle Cloud.
So why don't we start, for anybody that doesn't know you, a little introduction of who you are. And
Okay, so I'm Andy Blomley. I run the tech support and pre-sales team in TP-Link. Everybody kind of knows me as Blommers. It's a nickname I got playing rugby in my secondary school, and it's kind of stuck. And I've never really been able to escape from it. So,
do you like it?
It's my ego at work.
Okay,
my alter ego at work. My friends from home just call me Andy. Everybody else in work calls me Blommers. So there's a nice line of what is work and what is home.
Okay, that's good. But you call Blommers at home as well or not?
No. No, it would get confusing because my younger son, who is also into rugby, is called Blommers.
His actual name is Blommers?
No, his nickname is Blommers. Again, same reason, exactly the same. So it's just one of those things that, having a slightly unusual surname and Blommers seems to fit. And so, yeah, everybody, each generation gets a Blommers. So we brought a new one in.
Interesting story.
Yeah.
So you are product manager at TP-Link.
Yes.
And TP-Link is known as a consumer brand in the traditional sense. So what's the transition on the business side? And maybe talk about the Omada side a little bit as well.
Okay. Yes, TP-Link has a consumer brand. And if you look at the brands in TP-Link, Deco is probably the strongest brand in consumer Wi-Fi. On top of that, we have, the Tapo brand as well, which is our IoT brand. But if we start moving into the enterprise market, that's where Omada really sits. And on top of that, we also have our CCTV offering as well called VIGI. And VIGI it stands for vigilance, by the way.
Good name.
And VIGI is opening up new areas for us, and it's quite an important brand for us because what we're doing is we're taking what we worked out and the problems of a software-defined networking product, which is Omada, and we've taken that mindset very much into the security market. So where we look at a lot of our competitors have designed a very nice CCTV solution, but it's not really a web-first, easy-to-upgrade solution. Where we've taken out everything that we know about our Omada product portfolio and how that product portfolio has grown into a cloud-first solution. And then we've moved our Omada operating system to adopt the VIGI cameras into that. Now, what this gives you is this one page that you can log into either your network interfaces or your cameras. And with that comes the ease of software updates. And something that we see now is where it used to be a security update every year. Now we're seeing a security update maybe every 2, 3, or even for a month. A massive change where vulnerabilities are discovered, they're corrected, and a new piece of software is pushed out.
We're seeing in our software team a mountain of vulnerabilities that are appearing now compared to what we had a few years ago.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely crazy.
And I think this is part of where, it's probably one of the darker sides of AI, where AI is being used to find vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Now, that's great if you're a software developer using AI and using that functionality to find your vulnerabilities before you launch your product. But unfortunately, a lot of people are using AI tool sets to find vulnerabilities in already launched products.
Yeah, exactly. And why is it that you went for Omada by TP-Link or TP-Link Omada together rather than just Omada?
TP-Link has a very good name. And in fact, if you look from the consumer side, 80% of people that have purchased TP-Link products would happily recommend purchasing TP-Link products again. And so once you've got that brand recognition and that customer base, you kind of like don't want to give it up. And so the Omada brand, Omada by TP-Link, we wanted to have a distinction very much because this is an enterprise product. And we want to push that forward, but we didn't want to lose our legacy.
Yeah, I remember when I first set up Circle Cloud, we were providing TP-Link W8990 routers or 9970 routers. And the value for money was just incredible.
Absolutely.
It was just, it kept going. And I think we might even have customers still use them today. It's crazy.
Well, it's something that, we're very aware of in the fact is, consumers want a product that's going to last. We want to put out a product that really has a lifespan of at least 10 years. And I think we're probably one of the few manufacturers that will actually, with our enterprise products, we have a limited warranty on these. And what we say for that is when we come to end of sale that product, we'll give it 5 years of hardware warranty. And then on top of that, another 2 years of software warranty. So you'll get, your product will still have those critical fixes sent to it 7 years after the point we've ended sale with it. And that's amazing.
And explain a little bit about TP-Link, where it's headquartered and how it works. Because I understand that there's a Chinese version of TP-Link, but there's also a US version of TP-Link, and obviously we're in the UK. So just clarify where we are with this.
Okay, so TP-Link was split into two entities. Now, the entity that I work for is based in the US. It's based in Irvine in the US. It is an American company. We also have headquarters in Singapore as well. And we do still produce stuff in China. We still have our own factories in China that we produce stuff. But we also produce in Brazil, in Vietnam, and for the Indian market as well, we produce in India.
So it's a worldwide company split into several entities, let's say two main entities.
Two main entities, yes.
And
the two brothers formed it. One brother has stayed in China. The other brother has moved to the States.
Oh, that's the story then. That's literally it. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that's very good to explain it.
He's what we are doing here is he wants to look at pushing TP-Link into the American market more than it is at the moment, and also into the European UK market,
which he's doing. Pretty successfully, right?
Yes.
Great. I read something about you starting a company called something 802.11.
802.11, yes. One of my best friends, Keith, we decided we were going to sit down and we'd seen, these new Wi-Fi routers that are coming in. I'd been working on Wi-Fi by then for nearly 8 years. I worked for a company called Symbol Technologies. Symbol Technologies was one of the founders of the Wi-Fi standard. In fact, I still have my first ever AP that I was given by Symbol Technologies as development, which is a 1-meg frequency hopping solution. And I still have it on my desk. It's just to remind me where I come from. And what had happened is the 802.11b standard had been ratified. We thought this was the point that we could start offering configured Wi-Fi solutions for consumers and small companies.
What do you mean by configured?
Well, one of the things is, the kit used to come, completely unconfigured, no security enabled, everything was wide open. And, we started offering a service where we would add security. Now, this was right at the beginning of Wi-Fi security. So it was a WEP version, so wired equivalent privacy. It definitely wasn't. But at the time, there were a lot of people that were going around what's called wall chalking, which were finding wireless networks which were open. A lot of corporates were putting them in, but didn't have an understanding of how to lock them down or secure them. And people would put down the passwords on the pavements so you could connect in and get internet access. And so we were offering a service for installers where we would supply them a pre-configured router which had all of the security settings put in. We would customize it for that user going in, and they would install it. That was the business model. And it succeeded a little bit. We had a number of customers. We started doing it, but there wasn't, with the B standard, there wasn't this rush of everybody wanted to get onto the internet. It was, at the point DSL was just about rolling out. It hadn't hit the market. And one thing about companies, which I've discovered as I got older, timing is so critical.
Yeah.
You can have the best business idea in the world, but if your timing is off, it is not going to fly. Well, and that's it.
Was that product the Google Glass?
Yes.
That tried and it launched today?
I've got one.
And I got another one, Vine. Remember Vine?
Yes.
The pre-TikTok scrolling videos, 7 seconds long or 15 seconds, I don't know. But yeah, its timing is so critical, super important. And what actually happened to that business?
I actually got taken on by Motorola. And
how do you mean? As an employed, basically?
As an employee, and to go and drive their wireless business. And we folded the company, and that's it. Interestingly, my friend Keith has actually gone back to that business, different name, but he's continuing those installs, etc. Now using TP-Link.
Interesting. And how did your journey go from Motorola to TP-Link?
So I Simple Technologies was my first job from university. I then took a break from there. My old boss rang me up and said, "We need a new guy into the wireless LAN division again. Would you come back?" And I went, "Yes." At that point, Simple Technologies had been taken over by Motorola. So I came and joined Motorola at a real critical time. It was absolutely wonderful. We just launched the A and G standard, so we had a 54 meg wireless solution. We were going around buying up different companies. So we actually purchased a point-to-point company, which has eventually become Cambium. So we purchased them. We also purchased a wireless security product called AirDefense. And so we had all this fantastic portfolio put together into the Motorola wireless solution. And then we brought out a version of the operating system, which was the operating system that Motorola came up with was Wing, and it stood for Wireless Next Generation. And we brought out Wing 5, and this was a complete game changer in the architecture of wireless. It was a completely distributed system. Everything was designed to run locally with, what we built then as a cloud controller. We could host. It was incredibly powerful, very, very flexible. And still to this day, I run it in a few networks, and it's still amazingly reliable. You can lose APs and it just will automatically change the power and channel and etc. And this is something that is, the orange is this 15 years ago.
Wow. The first time I saw a cloud controller was when I started playing with the Ubiquiti stuff.
Yep.
So, and I was blown away. Mm-hmm. But now you've got, obviously Cisco Meraki's done it and now you're doing it as well.
Yep.
What sets Omada apart from the likes of Cisco Meraki or Ubiquiti?
So the fundamentals is, we want to deliver a solution which you can debug easily. It's
not a black box.
It's not. No. I come from a situation of, my mindset is very much, I expect it to work, but when it doesn't, I want all the tools to be able to find out why it's not working. And that's what we built in Omada. So if you look at our solution, if you want to do a packet capture from a switch, you can do that. If you want to do it from an AP, you can do that. And you can choose which interface. You can choose the network interface. You can choose the wireless interface. If you want to look at all the logging, you get all of the information about all of the clients, when they connected, what IP addresses they got, what MAC addresses are in there. So this gives us a huge amount of information to remotely sort out the problem. We quite often get customers says, we would like somebody on site. And I think in the 3 years I've worked for TP-Link, we've sent somebody on site probably about once a year. And in most of the time, it's because the salesperson has insisted rather than because technically we need to. We can gather all of the information that we need. And, with the team that I have, we can solve your problem. And this is the power of having a cloud-based solution. This is being able to gather information. And in fact, quite often we will be talking to our customers as we've got this problem. Can you give us access? Yes. Okay, we go in. Did you know that you had these devices? No? No idea. Well, I've just found, 3 APs that you said you'd taken out, but they're still there. And we're able to show them exactly, when they got IP addresses, what the MAC addresses are. We can tell them which APs can hear them so we can roughly work out where they are. And this is just amazingly powerful.
Since we've been using TP-Link Omada, the engineers are very happy, but also the troubleshooting process, the platform is just great. We started with, we were doing the TP-Links at the beginning, the old the W9970, as I said earlier. Then we upgraded to Dratex, and then we were using the Dratex 2760, I think it was. And then from there, we realized we wanted to see that cloud controller aspect was super important, to be able to see your estate and manage your estate. So then we thought, what could we choose? And at the time, I think we went with the Ubiquiti. Actually, no, we went with the Dratec ACS platform.
And the ACS platform is a good platform. It's a TR069 platform, but it's a polling platform. So you have to ask to request information.
And they charged per device as well. And that didn't work.
I know. Where, with our solution, it's a WebSocket. We are sending live data continuously back. Yeah. And that's the key thing.
It's like built with modern standards.
Yes.
And the ACS one just didn't feel, that leap forward didn't feel as good. And then we went from ACS to Ubiquiti, and then we found ourselves in this black box scenario where it worked when it worked. When it didn't work, good luck. Yeah. And we couldn't really tweak it the way we wanted to. And then we happened to go down another route, and we said, well, let's rip all the Ubiquiti out and go with Microtech. And because we could really control the Microtech. Yeah. But what's your view on Microtech?
I'm a fan of. I really am. But you've got a wonderful car. Okay, I've seen your wonderful car, and that has been built by a fantastic set of engineers that have produced an absolute phenomenal car. Microtech is like building a kit car.
Yeah, you build your own.
You build your own. Now, you can build that fantastic car.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, but it's going to take you a lot of time to get that to work in the way that you want it to. Where we have gone along and said, well, actually, what we're doing is we're going to make out of the box, it does 90% of what you want to do. Where Microtech out of the box does 10% of what you want to do, and you have to configure the rest. Yeah. Okay, and it's a different mindset. We are assuming that the people that are installing that need some help to do this and to work through it.
It's funny you say that, because before we found Omada, we had our project manager and the development side almost preparing the process, preparing the sprints to build our own cloud platform on top of the Microtech solutions that we had. And then we thought, well, this is Omada and it does it. And what's the point? It just works. What's the point of building your own? So yeah, it touches on the build your own versus buy, where a lot of the times when you've already done the hard work and done it so well, it makes no sense for us to build our own.
I mean, we do have a mindset, and I'm, one of the people that lead this mindset, that we are not going to solve everybody's problem. Okay, what we are doing is focusing on the 90% of customers' needs. There will always be that 10% that you have to go to a specialist, a Microtik, okay, or even a Cisco for that matter. We're focusing on this 90% of our customer base, that we will deliver a really nice, easy to configure, secure solution.
You do the 90% really well,
yep,
at good value for money.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good summary. And how big is TP-Link right now in the UK operation?
I run in the technical team, so I don't get to know the sales figures.
No, I meant like the team size. What does the office look like? Do you work from home?
I do work from home 4 days a week. Well, I say work from home. My home tends to be my car a lot of the time. I'm driving to meetings. I'm meeting customers. As my boss says, I sell trust. That's my job. So I do need to walk in and present and come to events like this. But I have a team of people. In my team, there are 6 of us in total that are the pre-sales team. And then we have a number of product managers as well. That's led by a very talented guy called Tom Wu. He is an amazing engineer. He is, the top of the Chinese technical engineers. A real joy to work with. Very, very passionate. We do have different approaches sometimes. I'm, a little bit on the spectrum, I would say. And so,
I think I am too.
Yeah. And so, it's something that my mind works in a different way to Tom's, which means that we have an amazing ability to solve problems because we go about the solving of the problems in different ways. And by working together with a whiteboard, we will go through and think, yep, this is how we should do it. This is the thing. And it's great.
So you're both involved in the product design phase?
We're both designed in that, and also the customer support. And, we will, if there is a problem with a customer, large customer like yourself, okay, it's all hands to deck. We will sit down and we will work the problem. We will build what you have got. We all have the ability to log into our systems, to create a new network, to test it, things like that. And, my home lab, I have lots of equipment at home. So if any of our customers have a big technical issue and we need to replicate it, that's what we do.
And in terms of building the product or the product design, or maybe the firmware and just actually the software, is that done in the UK? Is that done somewhere else?
So it's not done in the UK. Omada is a global product. Mm-hmm. So parts of it are built all over the globe. But, Irvine in the US is where our software center is.
Okay.
It's where a lot of the software requirements are defined, but they might be developed anywhere in the world. We tend to do the majority of our development in-house, but, we are a massive use of open source software, and we gave back to the open source community as well. This is something that, when there is a vulnerability, the open source community comes together to solve that vulnerability. So being part of that is very important to us.
Couldn't agree more. We built our phone system we use on top of open source, on the shoulders of the giants.
Yes.
One of the PBX component, or the PBX component, is Kazoo, and it's built by a company that was called 2600Hz. They got bought out, and they released their scalable PBX platform open source. And we took that open source and we've built upon it. And now we've contributed what we've done, the changes that we've done to Kazoo back to open source. Yeah. And we've got this community of people together and all from all around the world that are contributing to this open source project. And it's great.
If you look at all of our routers, our switches, our access points, they all run Linux. And their design, is by that nature is to make them secure. Because we are not going to solve every vulnerability. instantly. Okay, we have a team that works very well at solving those vulnerabilities and pushing those vulnerabilities out and allowing you to easily download those and upgrade your systems. And indeed, all of our cloud hardware controllers, etc., will tell you when there's a critical update. It comes up as you log in. You have new software to install. Really important.
That's great.
I did actually read a really interesting statistic that 80% of managed switches that have been installed worldwide are still running on their original software that they installed.
No, 80%?
80%. Because they're not managed by any form of software controller or things. And, the number of vulnerabilities that you look in that switch platform.
Yeah.
Now, if you sit down and say, how many of our switches are layer 2 managed? Well, the ones that aren't adopted to a controller probably are running an older version of software. But the ones adopted to a controller, you have to be mad not to update the software.
Well, it's bright in your face when you log in, isn't
Absolutely.
it? So it's there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 8. You've got a theory on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe give us an overview of what your theory is and what the controversy is.
Well, I love it when we get a new Wi-Fi standard. I get excited. I'm a small child when it comes to Wi-Fi. Having seen it from the birth of the 802.11 standard and pre-standards all the way through, now to the Wi-Fi 8 standards. Up to Wi-Fi 7, it's always been a speed race. And this has been actually quite frustrating because really, if you look at where Wi-Fi 8 is coming about, it's all about the quality, being able to manage what's going on in the RF, where prior to that, that's been a bit of a secondary. We also have this annoying thing of, it's almost, Wi-Fi 6 is going to be much better than Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 7 is going to be better, in terms of coverage. And honestly, the truth, that isn't the truth.
Well, the higher the speed, it means that you have to reduce, the frequency has to be higher, the same as 5G, right? So you need more masts, meaning that the range is going to be lower.
Yeah. So there is
physics.
It is. So we have channel widths on 5 gig and 2.4, but you never want to touch 2.4 to 40 megs. But on 5 gig, you have channel widths, which you can set from 20, 40, 80, 160, and now with Wi-Fi 7, 320 megahertz. Every time you increase the channel width, your signal, in terms of quality, the strength has to go up by 3 dBs, which is twice the power. So every time you make your channel width wider, your signal has to double in power at the same distance. So it's quite funny where, some people will sit down and say, I can't get coverage in this room. And to get that, all we do is reduce it from 160 megahertz channel to a 20 megahertz channel. And suddenly you've got coverage in there. It's a really simple trick, but it works ever so well. But it's understanding that. And, in certain respects, the Wi-Fi industry is its own worst enemy. We always sit down and put the headline speeds on what it's capable of, which possibly isn't the best thing to do. We will tell you this is the coverage and this is the max speed. You've got to choose one or the other. Okay, you can't have your max speed and the large coverage. If you want your max speed, your coverage is going to be considerably smaller.
Probably because the max speed sells more.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, going back to the car analogy, if you said your car does 100 miles an hour, yeah, all right, whatever. Okay, if you say it does 190, suddenly you're going to get interested.
What is this? I read something about a £4 million claim that you've made of what businesses are. It's costing businesses in the UK outages, network outages, and things like that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, making reliable and redundant networks. It's really important. And, making them secure is really important. Something that we've done within Omada is design the system to make complicated networks easy to deploy. and then design them so they're redundant. So when we design a wireless network for our customers, and we do have a Wi-Fi design service, we will make sure that there's a secondary signal quality. And why do we do that? Well, if, and at rare occasion, one of our APs fails, or a switch powering the AP fails, we can have redundant cover. We recommend a salt and pepper approach for our access points. So if you have two switches in a comms cabinet, half the APs will be on one switch, half of the APs will be another. So we're building redundancy into the design. And we're designing, the actual Wi-Fi part to have redundancy. So if you lose half of your APs, will I still work? Absolutely.
It's okay, yeah. And what are you seeing the most common reason for outages in your clients' networks or clients' networks?
Power.
Power. Interesting.
There is always this, situation where people want to save a small amount of money, and they don't put a UPS onto their switches and so on that. And this is such a false, amount of, saving a small amount of money. I think the UPS is, I've got two UPSs at home. My switches are on one, my server's on another. It's critical. Those small little, power blips, that, 1 or 2 seconds, they're the ones that are damaging.
Yeah.
The long ones aren't. Okay, they're fine. It will switch off, it switch back on again. It's when you have these really small transient events on the mains. And as we move to a greener grid, these events are going to increase. There's nothing about it because of the way, the solar panels come online, then you get cloud and it comes thing, etc. Your peaks and troughs are going to increase. So putting some sort of UPS in there that allows you to avoid these little transients is really important.
Because it's not that you need hours and hours worth of power. It's these
10,
small
15
interruptions.
minutes is more than enough.
Yeah. So is that what you say as the one piece of advice for an IT manager of a business?
Absolutely, 100%.
If they're going to do one thing on a Monday.
Yeah. Go and buy a good UPS. Install that, okay, and put a note in your calendar to change the batteries in 18 months' time.
And in terms of if that same IT manager has got an estate of Wi-Fi 6, would you say go to Wi-Fi 7 or go to Wi-Fi 8 or wait to Wi-Fi 8?
So as an engineer, I spent 2 years selling Wi-Fi 6, and it's at a fantastic standard. Wi-Fi 7, well, Wi-Fi 7 brings in the 6 gig radio. Now, we had it in Wi-Fi 6E, but a lot of Wi-Fi providers ended of life their 6E products quite quickly. We did, and we're not the only ones. Wi-Fi 7 really has become the standard for the 6 gig radio. Now, if you are building a new office, I would really recommend investing into Wi-Fi 7 for that 6 gig radio and going forward on that. If you've got Wi-Fi 6 in there now, it's going to be good for the next 3, 4, 5 years. If you're happy with it, leave it well alone. And this is where my sales guy will be going mad and saying, no, you need to upgrade.
You need to upgrade.
When Wi-Fi 8 comes in, Wi-Fi 8 isn't going to offer any more speed. What it's going to do is focus on quality. It's going to focus on, the innovations that we've already built on, the dedicated scanning engines for the Wi-Fi, the ability to do MLO, which is multi-link operations. So you are talking to more than one radio at one time. It's looking at how you can drive, the security as well. Moving much more towards WPA3, where a lot of the networks that we're installing at the moment are a mixture of WPA2 and WPA3 because of the older clients. As you start moving along, you're going to be losing more of those clients. Your device is going to be connected to the 6 gig radio. I am extremely pleased that Ofcom has decided to give us the full 59 channels of the 6 gig band rather than the 20 channels that we currently have. So we're going to be following the US in that. I'm also looking forward to when they give us the 6 gig outside as well. That is going to be it's going to be a really good day. I'm going to really enjoy that one. Okay.
You make a good point about reliability, because when we moved into this office, I think it's because of the boats that we have around us, but the Wi-Fi was terrible. It wasn't bad with speed when you're right next to it. It was just unreliable. It kept dropping out, and people were on video calls and it was freezing and then coming back.
So this is down to the DFS channels. So dynamic frequency selection has been designed to avoid radar. Now, being in this beautiful office with a port, you're going to be seeing radar, hitting your Wi-Fi.
A lot of interference, yeah.
And when the Wi-Fi sees a radar thing, what it does is it will stop transmitting on that channel. It actually sends a message to the devices around the network to say, I'm going to be moving channels. And then it will move channels, but then it's got a waiting time. So it then has to do what's called a clear channel assessment. And that can be 1 minute, it can be 10 minutes, until the radio actually now switches back on and clients can start talking to it again. Now, the great thing about 6 gig is DFS doesn't come into play. So all of the channels that, in the 6 gig band are non-DFS channels. So this means that we don't have this interruption. So this is going to be brilliant for outdoor. It's going to be superb for indoor, especially in an environment like this.
I wish somebody explained it like that. What is it about you? Have you always been of the sense of explaining complex topics in a simple way, or is that something that the TP-Link could have embodied in you?
No, this has been my job for the last 25 years.
Not your first rodeo then.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy doing this. One thing that TP-Link has really enabled me is to bring on the OCNA courses.
Yeah, what is OCNA?
So OCNA is our flagship training program. So we have an Omada certified network associate in both wireless and routing and switching. We're writing the professional course at the moment. It's something that we were given, the information from the US to start running this course, decided the format that they had didn't fit the UK market. So we completely rewrote the course. It's now a 1-day course, either online or in person. I always recommend the in-person. You get to play with the kit. You get to see the kit. And it's a lot more fun. And then we will sit down and teach you. But it's not just teaching you, this is how you set it up. We'll also teach you, this is how you diagnose problems. And indeed, we do 2 deep dive courses, which are built around Wireshark rather than Omada. And people go, why are you teaching Wireshark?
It's looking in the engine there.
Yeah. And it's very much, if you understand what is actually going on, you can then configure it far easier. So we're able to show, we do a deep dive in UC. And so we're able to capture voice packets and show different points, within the switch, doing packet capture, within the AP, doing packet capture. And then being able to open that packet up, or the packets up, into Wireshark and show what's going on. And then do the most amazing thing, and I absolutely love this, which is AI. Because you can then take your captured information from your port mirror,
the
PCAP file, put it into AI and ask it questions. And I've spent 20 years understanding what's going on in Wireshark. And in certain things, it's slightly frustrating because, you think I've spent 20 years learning something and AI can do it in 30 seconds. But being able to find stuff, what's going on, ask it, real world questions.
And is there much point in Wireshark then, if you can just stick it into AI? What's the difference between analyzing a packet and Wireshark? They're really seeing each message line by line?
So, Wireshark has become the industry standard.
Sure.
If you do, if you are doing packet capture from any of the tools, that Omada supplies, it's going to go into Wireshark. The advantage of Wireshark is you can then put filters. And then, so rather than sitting down and saying, AI, look at everything.
Just look at what you will need to look at.
Let's look at the bits that are important.
Makes sense.
And again, that's something that, in the courses, especially in the routing and switching one, we will sit down and say, look, at the end of the course, there is a whole section of these are the common filters that you need to put into Wireshark. Because we want, it's great having really good partners. It saves us a lot of time. And having a situation where, I had it recently where a partner sent a whole pile of PCAP files to us with an explanation of what's going on. And we were able to go, right, this is the issue. Done. 10 minutes support call. Rather than the support call of my wireless is not working.
And we start troubleshooting and debugging.
Okay, what's not working?
Yeah. It's just not working.
And then you go back and you eventually find out that their internet's not working. It's not actually anything to do with the wireless.
Yeah. So this OCNA is Omada's Certified Network Associate certification that you've done. Did you get inspired from CCNA or MTNA?
There was a little bit of that. And the cynic in me was we already have the Cisco qualifications and they're universal and standard. We're never going to compete with those. I tell you, we're doing a good run for the money now.
Yeah, you've done about, how many have you trained? How many partners have you trained?
We're nearly at 2,000 partners now in the UK.
Wow.
And it's very interesting that we have partners now that use our courses as onboarding of their new engineers. It's integrated into it at that level. Every time we launch a new course, there's a wait list. This is almost unheard of.
Are you doing the training?
I'm one of the trainers, but all of my pre-sales team will do the training. In fact, there's 2 training sessions going on today. Before this started, I was talking to some of my engineers about it. It is, it's a continuous process. If you want to work for TP-Link in the pre-sales team, part of your role will be training people. It's a way of my team engaging with end users. They give us some fantastic feedback of what's going on. And also we hope to solve their problems.
Out of the 2,000 that you've worked with so far, what's the split? I'm assuming it's some of them are IT companies, some of them are telecoms companies. Any others?
So we have some security companies as well. Obviously with the CCTV, and we do a security focused course as well. So with the security, we're pushing it network first, and so we're teaching the security teams how to build more complicated networks.
They're IP devices, these cameras now, aren't they?
They are all IP devices, but unfortunately, a lot of security companies still take them out of box, plug them together, and expect them to work. Rather than sitting down and saying, well, how do I integrate that with the network? It's a standalone network. And you see this quite often when you go to an office block where you will see a set of switches by one vendor, which will be doing the network and the wireless, and then normally an unmanaged switch that is running the CCTV or the security system. And that's something we want to change. Being able to have everything on a single pane of glass makes a massive difference. Being able to secure everything really easily, putting everything on separate VLANs, putting ACLs in place. That's really important. The next part of it is, our switches will monitor those devices. So built into Omada is the ability to see if that device is online. And it doesn't have to be an Omada device. It doesn't have to be a VIGI device. It can be any third-party device. We can monitor your telephones. If that device stops responding to an ICMP ping, the unit will wait for a period of time, and then it will bounce the PoE on the port and reboot that device, and it comes up. I've got an old Polycom phone that I've still got running, and every 3 months it needs to be rebooted, and every 3 months my Omada switch reboots it.
Amazing. Have you integrated any AI into Omada yet?
There's lots of AI into Omada, especially into the security cameras. The security cameras are the area that is probably the most AI focused. So, we are doing a huge amount on the tiny processor and memory footprint on the actual camera. If you are doing vehicle recognition, for example, that's done on the camera. If you're looking for somebody, walking past with a yellow jacket and you want to highlight it, again, done on the camera.
Wow.
We're looking at, the next generation is being able to give you heat maps of people moving around shops.
And just to confirm, this is not stuff that's done on the recorder on site.
No.
It's literally on the camera.
On the camera. In the small microprocessor that is running on the camera.
You've got an AI model running.
You've got an AI model running on there.
Impressive.
This is, these micro AI models, okay, are what is changing the world.
Yeah.
And being able to sit down and see how that is running, how that is, optimized. And the guys do an amazing job. And we're bringing in, face recognition. We're bringing in the ability to see, is there bullying, in a school? We'll be able to see, because we're able to recognize, a possible bullying event, and we can trigger that in real time. So, all security systems rely on the system that somebody's monitoring them. We're building a system where the AI is monitoring them and then sending you an alert. That's the difference in the power.
That's the future.
Yes, very much so.
So that's on security. What about on networks?
So networks, we are definitely getting there. So looking at the roadmap, what we do manually with AI for packet capture, that's being automated. If we look at, the power and channel automation, that's run by an AI model now.
So this is self-healing networks?
This is self-healing networks. This is the ability, as we were discussing earlier about the salt and pepper approach, where, you lose a switch, for example, and suddenly, your other APs have to take up the load. Well, they'll automatically increase the power. They will automatically, change their channels to work on this. But what we're working on is, managing the channel width. So, when we design it, currently, if you have got a warehouse, you're only going to be using 20 megahertz channels. But because you're not going to be sending a huge amount of data, and
you need the range, right?
You need the range and the channel reuse. Mm-hmm. When you go to the offices, you want faster response.
Lots of devices,
higher number of devices, in a given area. And so you're going to be wanting 40 or 80 megahertz. So what we're trying to do is use the AI model to do this automatically. So we can look at the density of the devices, look how many people are connected, and determine in the RF environment what is the best channel width to use, what is the best channel, what is the best power. And we're also then moving into our latest generation of APs, which have dynamic antennas. So they will actually change their antenna map to match the environment that you want to cover. Now, this is really clever.
So when you're configuring it, or when you're setting up the site, you would specify I'm sitting
at the moment, you're going to have to choose. It's a manual process. And so you can select, do you want a high density mode? Do you want a coverage mode? Okay. But in the future, this is going to be 100% dynamic.
Wow.
So, this is, and this goes to the same stage of, when you have an incident, say you lose some APs, you don't want to have this, small coverage area, because suddenly you're going to have coverage holes. You're going to change your antenna to cover the area. So some really clever stuff coming out.
Simplifying the process for the user, but at the same time giving them the option to dig deeper if they want to as well.
Yeah.
And what about internally at TP-Link? How are you using AI internally?
So it's quite interesting. The software development, we actually don't use AI to develop our software. We use people. We use AI to check the software. We use it to sit down and put what's going on and create all the notes regarding what we've written. But all the code is written by engineers.
So this is when you said earlier you write code all over the world,
yep.
and you make sure that every single developer that you hire doesn't use AI coding in any way?
They use it very rarely. They use it for documentation, for AI for documentation. They use AI for checking, and we're always using it for pen testing. But written, no.
Is this a policy that you've put together?
It's not one of my policies, but it's a policy I think that is,
TP-Link stands by, we don't want our engineers using AI to write code.
Yeah.
Interesting approach, because that's obviously something to do with the element of making sure that you know exactly what goes into the code.
Yeah.
Are you seeing this shifting in the future, where maybe, because the reason I ask is we're leading more to a product requirements document approach when we're building software. So we write the product requirements document, we write the spec sheet, and then we feed that into AI, and we get AI to write the code.
Yes.
We check it later.
Yeah.
But I understand that you have to make sure that what goes into the code is correct.
At the moment, I don't see that changing. It's interesting because we use Claude very much for doing our API integrations.
Okay.
And as a pre-sales team, 100%, we build everything using Claude. That is our standard. Okay. And it is fantastic and it is absolutely brilliant. But no, for the currently, the code is written by people.
For the product itself. I can understand the rationale behind it, but I can't see that standing long term. But time will tell. We'll see. But internally, you're using Claude. What else are you using?
So I'm also a fan of, when I'm doing packet capture, I tend to use Copilot. And the reason being is I'm dealing with customer data. So I don't want an open AI platform. If a customer shares me a packet capture, I don't want that to be shared with the world. Copilot allows you to segregate that under its own security policies. So I tend to use Copilot for that type of thing.
So you are a Microsoft house?
We are definitely a Microsoft house. Yes. And I don't see that changing for a while.
Are you personally a more of a Gmail kind of person or Outlook in your personal world? I'm
a bit strange. I build a lot of Linux stuff. And, I have lots of Linux servers running at home. I have Linux on some of my laptops. I have, I run, my email at home is all Gmail, and, etc. Basically, home, Gmail, Linux, okay, work, Windows, Microsoft.
Microsoft is just one. They've got the corporate grab, haven't they?
Yes.
And you mentioned Copilot because you don't want to give the data to somebody like Claude. Is that why?
It's if you look at the Copilot terms and conditions, is Microsoft. Yep. They don't share the information you put in it to create the model.
So for training data.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously that means I'm using it for customer information. I don't want any customer information leaking out. Okay. And so, and that goes again with all the team. So if we have anything customer based, we're using Copilot because of the terms and conditions that Copilot enforce.
Well, it's the right approach. Data, there's something about data that is becoming more, the data residency and the sovereignty is becoming more of an important play now than it was a few years ago, but it's always important, but now even more.
And we're, with our cloud solution, that's all built in Ireland. If you set up a cloud instance, it's going to ask you which country you want to set it up in. If you choose the UK or any part of Europe, it's going to be built in Ireland. We have 3 data centers in Ireland that, our cloud is run across. So, we have full redundancy built into there. If you choose the US, it's going to be in the US. It's down to you where you want your
Giving
data
the customer
to.
the choice is the important part here.
Yeah.
Have you worked on any projects or any products that either haven't made it to market or that you've personally been involved in that haven't made it, that have failed?
Lots.
Have you?
Lots. Yes.
What's the one that you think is the one you felt the strongest about?
So I spend a lot of time working in warehouse systems, optimizing warehouse to improve efficiency. And we were actually doing a really nice fulfillment solution for picking, which involved an AI engine and the ability to have a heads-up display. And so we would allow the user will be able to pick, and we will be telling them what to pick and what bin to pick, and it improved picking dramatically. So we were looking at a 99% efficiency rate from it, and a really fast return in investment. And unfortunately, the company that I was working for decided to stop developing it.
So this is before TP-Link?
This is before TP-Link.
So this is telling a warehouse operator where the product that they need to grab from the shelf is, on what shelf and what exactly where it is.
And also giving a picture of it as well. So when they pick it, there's a camera on the front of it. So when you pick the device, you can actually check that it is the right color and everything else. And the system is feeding back information. So, if they pick a red one and it's meant to be a blue one, the camera picks that up and it says, no, you picked the wrong one, and et cetera, put it back and go from there.
And how is that with a heads-up display? How did that heads-up display system work?
We're actually using a military display system that was designed for snipers.
Which like goggles kind of thing.
It was an overlay on a glass, and you got a 640 by 480 display. And we were able to give a representation of the shelving within there, and within that you would select a box and it would be colored. And when you went to that box with the camera, it would tell you that you'd actually got to the right box. And then when you picked the item up, the camera checked what color it was, etc. And then you scanned it and everything was confirmed, and then you put it into your picking bin.
Sounds like a great product.
It was.
Why did they nuke it?
Because it was replaced by robotics, 100% robotics.
Of course.
So
timing.
And COVID was one of the things that moved the products on. Suddenly the investment into full automation took over, rather than improving the picking ability of an individual. Well, let's just replace the individual and let's have a robot do it.
And I think there's a next evolution of robotics coming now, with humanoid robots and everything else coming.
Absolutely, and that's another challenge to networks.
Yeah.
If you look at the new warehouse designs that TP-Link are doing for warehouses, is we've moved away from having access points at the edge of your warehouse and beaming into the space, to fundamentally delivering RF in the same way as you light a warehouse, so from the top. And this is because the requirements of a warehouse have completely changed. They've gone from a telnet type application to a robotic, a robot. That robot is using vision. It's not doing all of the processing on board. It will be talking to a server. It needs a high-speed, low-latency connection. It also needs location-based. And by putting the APs in the ceiling and pointing them down, and using narrow beams, 30 or 120 degrees, you get this very accurate Wi-Fi solution with incredible upload speeds. So, you can have all of these robots running around, each, connecting at 60 meg, and seamlessly handing over, and also the operators being able to do voice calls in the warehouse, all of which was impossible before.
Yeah, it highlights the need for good Wi-Fi, because these guys aren't going to be plugged in. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Incredible. So what does the next, what do you see? I'm not saying you're a futurist here, but what do you see is in the next 5 years in the space of the, let's focus on TP-Link first. What do you think the next 5 years for TP-Link look like in terms of the products you're going to bring to market?
So obviously we're a leader in Wi-Fi 8. So that's something that I'm going to get really excited about when that comes out. But it's also integration. You know, we're pushing out a 5G network a little bit late in the UK, but we are finally getting our 5G network out there. 5G is brilliant outside, but it's not particularly good inside. You don't get the penetration into a building. So designing your network to seamlessly move between your 5G and your internal network, that's where I believe that things are going to really take off.
How can they be improved?
Well, I think we're going to have to go in the fact that we start making agreements with operators, especially within Wi-Fi 8, where the 5G cell providers will be saying, if you have got Wi-Fi in your shopping center, can we use part of that to connect devices onto our 5G infrastructure? Because otherwise you're going to have to put a microcell architecture into that shopping center when you probably already have the points for a Wi-Fi solution already. We can retrofit Wi-Fi 8 into that environment. We can allow the operators to have an SSID built into that. We can, have them offloading to the Wi-Fi network. And I see that, there was a big push for private 5G. I think that's part of the market. But I think integrating Wi-Fi into private 5G and public 5G is going to be, where we are going as an industry.
I think you're right there. One of the biggest points that we get from customers when they're using our app, for example, our voice app, is that they're walking into the office and there's a cut on the sound because you're going from data to Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi and you're leaving the office, the same problem.
Yeah.
That would solve this, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And, the other part of it is, I think, moving away from the ownership model.
How do you mean the ownership model?
Well, currently, your Wi-Fi network, you go and purchase the equipment. You don't purchase the 5G equipment. You don't purchase the electricity, the electricity grid. You pay as a use model with all of these. I can see that as a model going into Wi-Fi as well. So, you will pay for your connections that you have in an office. You won't pay for the equipment anymore. And I can see in the next 5 to 10 years that the model of going out and actually buying hardware and installing it is going to change to, this is being installed, this is the service that you get, this is a service level agreement you get, and you pay for the number of seats on the system.
So you basically see it as we do now with a 5G SIM card, where we get a new SIM card, we're a subscriber to that SIM card, and we pay monthly for that.
Yep.
You have X amount of data included in that. You see a similar approach being taken on Wi-Fi.
Yes.
I think that's valid. And that would justify the joining together of the 5G and the Wi-Fi, so it becomes seamless in the handover.
Yeah. And then you're going to have, we've been saying the Internet of Things is coming. Well, you come to my house, it's already here. Yeah. I look at the number of devices that are connected to my network. I think I'm at 97, 98 devices when all the kids are home. Including, the Tapo wonderful robot vacuum cleaners that, sit down and clean the house after chasing the dog in the middle of the night.
You rate those, do you?
I really do. We've got a new one that washes the floor beautifully. We have a dog, so, it sits and chases the dog. The dog hates it, absolutely hates it. Okay. But, I can see this, the connection, especially with the energy prices that we have now, being able to choose when, your device switches on. So rather than guessing, being able to sit down and say, well, there's going to be abundance of electricity at this time. I'll do the dishwasher at this time. the dishwasher says, okay, you want it cleaned by then. I'm going to decide when I put on. I'm going to decide when I put my heaters on. And I'm going to look at the price of electricity and decide that. That's the next part of it. That's going to be the crux, where your home starts monitoring your energy use, optimizing it, etc. My house already has a situation where, I have solar and batteries, and it determines how much it's going to charge the batteries the night before, depending on what the weather is going to be like the following day. So if it's going to be a sunny day, it's not going to charge them as much. It's going to wait for the sun to charge the batteries. If it's a dark day, etc., or winter, it's going to charge the batteries to 100%. Because it's optimizing everything.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Future is exciting.
It's going to be interesting.
What about for you in 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
Retired.
Oh yeah, is that in 5 years?
5 years. Yeah, I have a definite retirement plan.
You answered that one quickly.
Pardon?
You answered that one quickly.
Yeah, no. So there's places. I've had a wonderful career. I've been able to travel all around the world, meet some fantastic people. The traveling has always been work related. I really want to explore some of the fantastic places that I've been, and spend some more time and meet some more people.
What would you say is one piece of advice that you give your younger self?
I've already given it, and that is travel.
I was thinking it might be related to that.
Yeah, the world. A lot of people say the world is a scary place. I disagree. I have met some amazing people in some amazing countries. Personally, I'm very saddened that at the moment, a lot of countries that I really love, we can't travel to. I've had some fantastic experiences in Lebanon, Beirut. Beautiful people, beautiful food. I managed to travel all around Russia, again, a fantastic country. And I've met some amazing people. I want to encourage my kids to travel.
Gives you another perspective on the world.
It does.
A wider perspective on the world.
Yes, very much so.
In Spain, there's a saying when they say somebody's well-traveled. Tienes mucho mundo. It means you have a lot of world.
Yes.
And that's a good way to put it. And it just opens up your...
So I've had... I'm a collector of old Land Rovers, Defenders. And
as in real?
Yeah, big ones. Yeah, I have 3.
I wish I knew this because my wife's father had a 1970-something Land Rover Defender, and we sold it at auction.
Okay, I've got a 1973. I'm picking up a 1989, and I've also got a 93.
You must have a huge garage.
No, I have a good friend who allows me to store them. Okay. Also, I have an ex-military lorry as well, but we won't go into that. That's a different one. My eldest son has just turned around last weekend, and he says he wants to take one of my Land Rovers, basically traveling for 6 months. So when he's finished university, so that's his plan. So yeah, I don't think I'm getting that one back.
And he's going to sleep in that and everything, go traveling with it.
So it's already got a roof rack. We'll put a roof tent on it. It will have been completely rebuilt. So it's one of those things. Working in tech means that the way I relax is to do something mechanical. So I'm quite happy to sit down and get my welder out. I'm quite happy to rebuild an engine or a gearbox. I find that soothing. So it's nothing to do with technology as far as I can see.
It sounds like the adventure of a lifetime.
I hope he does, yes.
I'm jealous. Yeah. So Andrew, thanks for being here. If somebody needs to contact you or let's say a partner wants to become a partner of TP-Link, how do they get hold of you?
Well, they can get hold of me directly via my email address. It's andrew.blomley@tplink.com. Otherwise they can go to the sales department. Jamie is a fantastic individual, or Ben Alcock. He runs the sales team. We're always happy to work with any partners. Come and join the team. We will be very happy to have you, and we're very happy to train you.
Amazing. Well, thanks for being here.
Cheers.